Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're listening to this. This is Coffee with Kevin, and this is my coffee. So good this morning. It really, truly is. And I'm grateful, just like it says on the coffee cup. And I'm Kevin. I'm Kevin Martin, a mindset coach, a hypnotherapist, and a bunch of other things that, I don't have time to talk about this morning. And speaking of time, look at what we have back there. Look at what we have back there. It's so incredible. It truly, truly is. Now I'm going to tell you, what happened this day in history. And I'll tell you right now, I wasn't prepared for this day in history. But on this day in history, all sorts of things happen. And I know when I look it up, I go way back to the 1700s, even further. But a really good thing in 1964 is the Civil Rights Act was signed. We had a trajectory and a long journey for civil rights in the last century. And, some will say, well, we're still in that journey, but we've come a long way. And there were a lot of things done in the 60s and 70s that brought us there. And the Civil Rights Act was one of them. Let's see, actor Jimmy Stewart, who came to personify a decent everyday man struggling. And he had that voice. I'm not going to try to represent it. He died at 89 years old on this day in 1997. And in 1979, the United States first issued the Susan B. Anthony dollar coin. And that was an important step because Susan B. Anthony was an important person in our country for the women. American businessman Sam Walton opened the first Walmart. No matter what you think of Walmart today, Sam Walton was someone who really, really wanted to do good and wanted to do good by his customers. And he was an incredible guy. If you've not read the Sam Walton biography, I would actually recommend it. I loved reading that. So in this day in 1962, the first Walmart was opened. And in 1937, I told you, we go way back. An airplane piloted by an American aviator disappeared in the Central Pacific Ocean. The aviator was Amelia Earhart. So on this day, Amelia Earhart disappeared. So lots of different things about different people and lots of different events come up on this day. And it truly is remarkable. Now I'm going to talk about time. That's why there's all these clocks in back of me. That's why there are so many things. Let's see what our quote of the day is. And actually today I actually have a couple quotes. So today, you will never find time for anything. You're probably saying, yeah, that's right. I can't find time for anything. If you want time, you must make it. I love this quote because when we hear about time, you're always hearing, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So we're all dealing with time. And that's correct. That's a nice fact. But this particular thing is more of a perception. You'll never find time for anything. Meaning, hey, if you're looking for time, if you want someone to give you time or something to give you time, you're not going to find it. You got to make it. You got to make it. Time is an interesting thing. Time management is one of the biggest subjects and one of the biggest sellers in professional development and even personal development. You have literally thousands of of notebooks and calendar books and everything. I've got notebooks here and everything that might you put calendars on, right? And I've got my online calendar and I can't live without it. It tells me when I've got appointments. It tells me when I have to do things. And so time management's a big thing. We didn't have all this for time management back 100 years ago or so. So how do people manage their time? They just knew. They might not have had a variety of things that they had to do. And so when people had a variety of things, like salespeople had to go visit everybody every day, they would write it down somewhere on a notebook. But people's lives were, I want to say simpler, and that's not always a correct thing, but the routines were there. You wake up in the morning and you do something for the first hour or 2 hours, and then you do something else, and then you do something else. And we weren't always as concerned about time management as we are now. So let me tell you a couple of things about time. Some of us are always looking at time. We're always, we need to be on time. We're looking at our schedules. We're looking at our calendars. And we need to be on time. It's not a bad thing. But when we're living that way, and everything we do needs to be that exact, that can cause some problems. But for those of us that are, working with those other people and meeting with those other people, and they're always on time. And matter of fact, they're not only on time, they're there before it has to happen. They make sure. So that those of us that are like that, and there's a little bit of stress attached to that. And then there's the other extreme, the other side of the clock, may I say. Those of us that are always in time, we're always in the moment. And, we're enjoying the moment. And those of us that are like that aren't paying attention to time. And therefore, we're late at a lot of things. We don't make other people too happy when it comes to keeping appointments and doing things like that. But we seem to be enjoying life, or at least enjoying the moment. Sometimes. So you can either be that kind of person that needs to be on time, needs to be, very timely, getting there early and everything else. Or you can be that kind of person that is in the moment. Or you can be a combination. I don't see either one of those extremes being very healthy for any one person. There are things we need to keep time on. There are things we need to make appointments we need to be on time for. And then there are things that aren't as important, and we can slow down once in a while. And that's when you can take your time. Good morning, Brenda. I see that my lovely wife Brenda's online here. So there are lots of things with time. I wanted to share some experiences when it comes to perceptions of time. When we were younger and first married, and my wife had this doctor who, God knows, he was consistently overbooked. He had this reputation. No one ever made it in their appointments on time. It was always at least a half an hour, and most of the times an hour or more later than the appointment time. And so I remember sitting in the waiting room for 2 hours. 2 hours in the waiting room. And knowing this, after a little while, I had to do something in my head to make the time fly fast. If you've ever waited, waiting is the toughest thing about time flying fast, because you're concerned with time. You've got nothing else to do but wait. and time goes by seemingly a much slower. And what I want to do is I want to present the idea that time can go by much slower or time can go by much faster. And it's all determined on what's going on here in your mind. What's going on in your mind. And once you learn how to do that, you can learn how to make time fly or how to make time slow down for you. Now, again, this is perceptions. Time's not doing anything different. There's still 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour. But your perception of your time can be quick or it can be slow. Now, in these days of the digital era, we all have phones. So if we have to wait for something, we'll pull out our phone and we'll start doing something. And then the time kind of flies by. Before you know it, you get called in for your appointment or whatever it is. The time flies by because your mind is distracted from the time. Your mind is distracted from the wait. Time doesn't get any different. It doesn't get faster. It doesn't get slower. Your mind is distracted from the wait. So you can do that with or without your phone or your laptop. You can distract your mind by daydreaming, by taking your mind to different places that you want to be, that you need to be. It doesn't have to be work. It can be fun. You can daydream. One place I want to tell you not to take your mind is to worry. Don't take your mind about thinking about what could happen. Those those worst case things that could happen. That's worry. That is a complete waste of time. It's a waste of time because the thoughts on the worst cases usually do nothing for us. And most of the time, they're wasted because it doesn't happen that way. So if you're going to bring your thoughts to somewhere, bring your thoughts to some places you want to happen or you want to be. And just let your mind drift. And then time will fly by. Now, on the other hand, I talked about slowing down. If things are going too fast, too rapidly, you need to slow things down, which means you can be more in the moment. You can be more of someone that's looking at your cup and thinking, what does grateful mean? What does grateful mean to me? You can be more in the moment of actually looking around, using all your five senses, figuring out what's going on in that moment, and time will slow. Time will slow. Great experiences in the morning. I'm going to confess. I'm going to confess right now. I'm one that hits the snooze button. I have a 9-minute snooze on the dot. If I'm pretty wide awake when the alarm goes off, oftentimes I'll hit the snooze because I just want to rest a little longer, or I want to rest on a different side because I'll do that. I'll be like a rotisserie Kevin, turn sides each 9 minutes. However, but I analyze what's going on because some of those 9 minutes, I can just hit that button, close my eyes, and instantly it goes off again. And I said, what's going on? And then some of those 9 minutes, I can get lost in deep thought and think about what I think is hundreds of things. And a lot of it's kind of valuable to me. And then I'll look at the clock and I've only taken up 2 minutes of those 9 minutes. And it's really wild. It's really wild. So I test perceptions at times with my snooze button. And the whole idea is to more control time, control how I perceive time. Because there are some times when I need to sit and I need to think about a lot of things. And I don't want to take hours to do it. I want to take minutes to do it. And then there's times where I know that I've got several hours before something happens. So I need to figure out how to make this time go by fast. If you ever travel, especially in these days, flights are delayed, flights are canceled. And sometimes you're at the airport for hours and hours. I used to travel 95% for months, sometimes years. And so I ran into all delays of all sorts. I had to deal with the time. I had to deal with, what do I do with my time while I'm waiting? What do I do with my time while I have to be aware, waiting, but also be fully aware of when the schedule changes? So changing your perceptions of time changes the way you feel about time, changes the way you experience time. Sometimes as if that clock, the minute hand starts moving like the second hand. And sometimes as if that on that clock, the minute hand starts moving like the hour hand, depending if you're slowing time or you're moving time fast. I wanted to let you know that if you work at it, time can be your friend, not your enemy. Now, I found another quote I liked a lot, but it goes to that how time comes up on us fast. And I just love this quote, though. The future has a way of arriving unannounced. George F. Will. I'm not sure who he is, but I love that because it happens to us, doesn't it? It happens to us. We got something coming up and we know we got to prepare. We know we got to do something for it. And before we know it, it's here. And we haven't done all the work for it. Because time sped up because we were doing all sorts of things. We were keeping ourselves busy. And everything was going. When chaos happens in our lives, things go like that, doesn't it? Sometimes it's better to have things go like that. Because sometimes, it eases the pain when it goes so quickly. And when it goes really slow, it becomes more painful if we're in a painful moment. When I have my clients go forward 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years in time, they go forward in their mind and then they look back. And sometimes it's like arrived there. They actually have this perception that they arrive too quickly. And of course, during our technique, they do. But sometimes they have this perception that they've done so many things. They've had a full life during that time period. And it's just really nice. And perception is just that. It's how you perceive what's going on. And it's in your control. We don't think we know that, but it is in our control. It has to do with our beliefs. It has to do with our experiences. And it has to do with our intentions. So that's it. Time is up for today. I want to thank you all for being here. And until next week, we'll see you then. Have a great day. Have a great week. Matter of fact, if you've been here before, make it a great day and a great week because it's in your control. Take care.